Hey guys, what's up? Today I'm going to teach you how to take your worker Terminator shell and paint it such that it still maintains some of the transparency, but you can add a bit of color to spice things up a bit. So if you're interested in learning how to do that, kick back and I will show you how it's done. Just got in my worker Terminator shell, so I'm going to go straight to painting with it because it looks like you have to lubricate a few sections of the shell to get it to function properly. So rather than doing that, undoing it for a test and then painting it, I'm just going to paint it the first time, let it dry, and then we will lubricate it all up properly. I also picked up a small angled foregrip to go with this shell, so I'm going to paint them both at the same time to make it easy. Looks like a couple of the screws already come in the shell, so I'm going to remove those and remove the existing internals so that way I can paint it. So once the shell is open, you can lift out this priming bar with the barreling material. There's a little spring that goes onto this piece right here. There's a single screw in the shell back here. And then there's the catch release piece, which I've just screwed back together to hold it, and the little release that goes with that. You can remove the priming bar via the screws on the top and set that aside to get the bottom rail piece, which will go through the shell, as well as the part that attaches to the bolt sled. If you want to paint those as well, I'm also going to do this grip. I'm going to be painting all these accessories in a blue to go with my red. At this point, if you were painting it normally, you could sand off like the worker logo or any of the textures you really didn't like, but because I'm painting it with a semi-transparent paint and it's going to still have some ability to see into the shell, I didn't want to scratch it up or put anything that might stand out. At this point, you're going to wash all your pieces with warm water and soap to remove any of the release agents, or if you put grease or anything in the shell, that will affect the paint adhering to the shell. So you're going to wash that, allow it to dry, and then we will string it up for some paint. Okay, so I just washed it off with the warm water and soap. Now I'm going to go over it with a microfiber cloth and some isopropyl alcohol. I allowed the shell to dry in between just to make sure that all of the water was off of it. Now I'm going to go clean up. There's a couple little spots where the water left a bit. And I'm going to use this instead of a paper towel because it won't leave any little fibers or shred as much. So that should leave us with a nice clean surface for our paint to go on. I'm also wearing gloves at this point to prevent any of the oils in my hand from getting onto the shell before I paint it. Okay, so the product I'm using to coat the shell and the various parts is Duplicolor Metal Cast. Now this is essentially a tinted clear coat that would normally go over chrome. However, in this case we're putting it over a clear shell, so it'll still be sort of transparent, sort of like stained glass-ish. I'm doing red for the main blaster, blue for some of the accessory parts, and then some of the tips I got for using this product is just do very thin coats as well as do it sort of over the recommended distance. I think it says like 8 to 12 inches. I'm going to do it probably closer to 18 or so inches away, just so that it's still pretty light in color. Okay, just a real quick shot. It's getting pretty humid out. It looks like it's about to rain, so I'm going to throw this in the garage. But this is what it looks like on the painting rack. I did a red run and a blue run so that the colors wouldn't mix, and then I also did some very light coats. It says up to 2 light coats and a medium coat. I just did the 2 light ones, and I think the color's pretty good. Didn't want it to be too dark. So now that some of these parts are dry, I'm just going to reassemble this. This will attach to the bolt sled, and this will be for the pump grip, so I need to put that whole assembly back together. So here's a quick shot of the shell. It came out really well. As you can see, it's sort of darker when it's against something, but then when the light hits it, it's still pretty light red and you can still see into it. So I'm pretty happy with how it came out. It's a very nice even coat, and because it's a clear coat, it should be pretty scratch resistant. So that's overall pretty great. Here's just a quick comparison of the blue that the plunger tube came in with the blue that I painted my pieces. It's a little darker, but I think overall it's very comparable, and it won't really make a big difference. So I'm happy that sort of some of those pieces match a bit better now. But now that all the pieces are dry, it should be pretty good to put back together. I wanted to give it an extra day or so just to make sure it's fully dry, just because it seems like you have to lubricate certain sections of the shell, so I didn't want the paint to rub off. So I gave it a little extra dry time. The coats are nice and even, so I think it's ready to go. I'm probably going to post a separate video about the assembly and my opinions on the blaster, just because I wanted to paint first, like I mentioned, because of the lubrication that you have to factor in, so it's just really easier to paint it right out of the box. Also, I wanted to get some field testing in before really giving an opinion, so figured we'll post this video probably first, and then shortly after will be the full review for those of you who are interested in that.